I think, that we should get this party started. What do you think? I think that in about 38 seconds, we should start this English lesson. We should. Oh, the live stream's definitely working, so that's good. Audio test complete. We're ready to start in about 19 seconds. Let me just double check a couple of things here to make sure that I am ready. I'm pretty sure I'm ready, but you never know. It's always good to make extra sure that you are ready. Let me move my microphone a bit. Starting in 4 seconds. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about manners. Believe it or not, there are good manners and there are bad manners. If you aren't sure what manners are, it's the way we behave in life in a way that's either polite or impolite. When you show good manners or when you have good manners, you do things around other people that don't annoy them or offend them. You do things while you're talking or eating or just living your life that are polite and kind and the sorts of things that human beings should do to each other. But there's also bad manners. There's things you do around other people that might annoy them or might make them feel just a little bit aggravated. Now, I should mention something. This is an English lesson about manners, but it's also an English lesson about culture. Some of the things that I mention might be good manners here and bad manners in your country. Some things might be bad manners here and are totally fine in your country. So please remember that this is from the perspective of a Canadian. This is an English lesson about manners, but the cultural differences that you'll be seeing are maybe because I live in Canada, because I live in North America, and you live somewhere else. So it should be interesting to see whether some of the things that I think are good manners, maybe you think are bad manners, and vice versa as well. But I'm super excited to have you here for this English lesson about manners. Before we get started, I do want to say hi to a few people because it's just polite. It's good manners to say hi to people when you meet them. So hi to Todd and Dave, who are here to moderate the chat. Hi to Brent from Speak English with This Guy. I didn't get a chance to say hi to Rod earlier, but he did pop in and said he had to work, so we won't be seeing Rod. But hi to Maria C, Norma, Lolly, King, Mode Eggs, Racky, Paper. Let me scroll back. I know Eugene from Etobicoke is here. I know Apple the Frog is here. So hi to Unsul and Salem and Apple the Frog and Mohammed and Berlian and Maria C. Freddie Wolf, il est ici aussi. Freddie Wolf is here. Très bien. Wanda Prado is here as I go back. Lemon Cute, How to Talk is here. Natalia is here. Key Park and so many others. If I missed your name, I apologize. MN is here as well. Awesome to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Oh, and hi to Norma, who I see just popped into the chat. So a lesson about manners. If we are going to talk about manners, I would say this. It is polite when you're on my live streams. It is good manners to submit your questions using the form and to not ask the questions in the chat. The chat is for fun English conversations between each other. I just had something here saying I should check my audio. Hey, it says everything's working. I don't know what that error message was because everything seems to be working great. Maybe Dave and Todd could give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know. But let's get this lesson started. Interrupting. So interrupting someone when they're talking to someone else is not good manners. That is definitely bad manners. There are ways to insert yourself into a conversation. I have a picture here of 3 adults talking. Sometimes adults do interrupt each other a little bit, but they might say something like, could I just interrupt for a moment? Or, excuse me, could I just add something to this conversation? Usually when we talk about interrupting, we're talking about children. Children often interrupt their parents when they're having conversations. Maybe at the grocery store, if I'm talking to the cashier, one of my children might interrupt, and I might say to my child, I might say, hey, please don't interrupt when dad is talking to someone else. So interrupting when someone is talking. Never a good idea. And here's a few more pointers on how to interrupt nicely. You could say, excuse me, could I just interrupt and ask a question? So you simply say that you're interrupting and you start with excuse me, or you would say something like, if I could just ask a question here, sorry to interrupt. That would be a great way to actually interrupt in a nice way. Chewing with your mouth open. So this is another thing. I have to laugh because my own children tell each other not to chew with their mouths open, but it is considered impolite. It is considered bad manners in Canada to chew with your mouth open when you're having a meal. Usually when you take a bite of food, you chew with your mouth closed. It's quieter. People don't have to hear the sound of food being chewed. And this might be different in different parts of the world, but certainly I remember as a parent teaching my kids, especially when we were eating somewhere else, teaching my kids not to chew with their mouth open, to chew with their mouth closed when we were at their grandparents' or in a restaurant. Just polite and good manners to chew with your mouth closed. So there are a few things our bodies do that make sounds. I'm going to talk about two of them. Burping is one of them. A burp is when you eat food or for some other reason you have some gas or air in your stomach and then you burp. It sounds kind of like, that's my pretend burp. But a burp is considered maybe bad manners a little bit. It really depends where you do it and how you do it. So for instance, if I'm working out in the field and for some reason I burp, it's probably not a big deal. But if I'm sitting having a meal with Jen's parents and I burp really loudly at the dinner table or at the supper table, that would be considered bad manners. Okay, it's very polite to kind of do something like burping somewhere where people can't hear you. And again, this might be different in different parts of the world. But yeah, that's I can't make the sound of a burp, but that is what a burp looks like. And then what's next? Another one that's something about gas coming out of the other end of your body. So when you burp, air comes out of your mouth. When you fart, when someone is farting, it means that gas is coming out the other end from down there. This is considered very rude for a couple of reasons. It sounds rude. It's very bad manners to fart around other people. And then, of course, it smells. There's a certain odor that comes with farting. So this is something that with our children as well, we encourage them not to fart around other people. Sorry, there's a little bit of silliness associated with farting, especially with children. Children think farting is funny. And so I think I'm giggling a little bit while talking about farting because it reminds me of when I was a kid and how kids kind of find farting hilarious. They think it's a very funny thing that people do. And if you think about it, it is a funny thing that we do as human beings. But bad manners to fart around other people. So it's good manners to use the word please. In fact, in English, we're often talking about teaching our kids to say please and thank you. When our kids would go visit someone, we would say, don't forget to say please when you ask for something, and don't forget to say thank you when someone gives you something. So it's very important, especially as a parent, that my children learned how to say please when they were asking for something. And it was important to me that my children learned to say thank you when someone helped them or gave them something. So you'll often hear parents using both words together, like teaching your kids to say please and thank you, or saying to your kid, don't forget to say please and thank you when you visit your friend. Don't forget to thank your friend's parents if they give you a snack or give you a ride somewhere or take you to a restaurant and pay for the food. Make sure you say please when you're asking for something, and make sure you say thank you when someone gives you something. Just good manners to do that, definitely. Tipping. So this depends on the kind of restaurant you're in and what country you're in. Tipping is the act of giving money at the end of a meal that's more than the bill for the restaurant that you've eaten in. So if you go and the bill is $30, you might leave a $5, $10, or $15 tip. 15 would be a lot for a $30 meal. Usually it's around 20%, I think, 15 or 20%. But tipping, this might be different depending on what country you're in. In Canada, if you go to a fast food restaurant like McDonald's, you don't tip. If you go to a sit-down restaurant, that's the phrase I would use, where there's a waiter and they bring you a menu and you order your food and they bring you your food, we generally consider tipping to be good manners. It's just a good idea to show your thanks to the server by leaving a tip. Notice I'm using tipping and leaving a tip kind of interchangeably. Tipping is a good idea. Leaving a tip is a good idea. Putting your feet on the table. So this is a tricky one. I put my feet on my coffee table when I'm sitting in my living room, but I don't put my feet on the supper table or dinner table or kitchen table. There's a lot of different names for that table. When I'm in the kitchen, I do not put my feet up on the table ever. That would be very, very bad manners. If I was visiting my sister and I put my feet up on her kitchen table, like if I sat in a chair and put my feet up on her kitchen table, she would be very annoyed with me. That would be extremely bad manners. But when I'm sitting in a living room, when I'm sitting on a couch watching TV, I often put my feet on the coffee table that we have there. Cutting in line. This is another one where this might have a different, whether this is good or bad manners might depend on where you live. In Canada and generally in North America, you do not cut in line. So cutting in line is when there's a line of people and you just go in the middle of the line, or you try to get to the front of the line. Lines are very, I'm going to use the word sacred. Lines are very sacred in Canada and in the United States. We don't cut in line. And there's a few other words for this. You can butt in line or bud in line. Students at school will often say no butting when people try to get in line in front of them. Now, I said that cutting in line, it does happen in Canada, but usually it happens with like teenagers and younger people. If you go to the bank, you would never cut in line at the bank in Canada. That would just be extremely rude. You can tell I'm going on and on about how rude it would be, but it is my understanding that in different parts of the world, things might work a little bit differently. Hey, let's look at some questions here. Hopefully the questions pop up on the screen. Remember that if you have a question, please submit it using the question form. I have a few questions here. First question is from Sukena. Let me have a little sip of tea for a sec. And Sukena says, what does it mean, mind your manners? So this is something I think would most often be said to a child. And it's telling them, make sure that you're polite. Make sure you say please. Make sure you say thank you. Don't chew with your mouth open. If one of my children went to visit another person's house, I would say, don't forget to mind your manners when you're there. It means remember to be polite and remember to act in a way that's respectful, and don't put your feet on the table. Don't chew with your mouth open. All of those kinds of things. Let's see here. Ario says, hola, Mr. Bob. My questions are, how did you teach your children about manners? Little fix there. And when will you do a live stream on Saturday? Well, about the live stream, I might do some outside once the weather gets nicer. I haven't really figured out when. And not tomorrow because it's going to be minus 11 degrees Celsius. Winter is coming back tomorrow. And how did you teach your children about manners? By constantly reminding them. I think that's how most parents teach their children things. You tell them over and over again that it's not appropriate. Or what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Not disappointed mode says, hi, Mr. Bob the Sunflower, and waving on behalf of Eduardo. I almost thought this was Eduardo's question when I saw the waving person. Is it common in Canada to see any PDA? PDA is personal displays of affection, hugging, kissing, and those kinds of things. Is it considered normal or is it something that's frowned upon? So generally, like PDA, if someone is walking and holding hands, that's pretty normal. If someone kisses someone on the cheek or even a quick kiss on the lips in public to say hello or goodbye. So let's say you see a couple and they're out on a date and he drops the girl off at the bus stop and they kiss on the lips quickly. You'll see that once in a while. Making out, which is like kissing for a long period of time, is not very common. That is considered bad manners. But you will see people shake hands, hold hands, hug, kiss on the cheek, kiss on both cheeks, and maybe even a quick kiss on the lips. Even a romantic kiss would be okay, but nothing more than that. Anything other than that would be considered a little bit rude and would be bad manners. Yaroslav, morning, the wisest teacher Bob. Is this a good or bad manner? Always to speak clearly. Does it matter to have good manners? Yes, you need to have good manners. I think it is important. And speaking clearly is a good idea. I'm not going to, maybe I'll just be very specific. One of our children this morning was mumbling at breakfast, talking very quietly, and we couldn't hear them. That's not very good manners. It's good to always speak clearly so that people can hear you and so that people can understand you. Hey, let me just do an audio check. Yes, there we go. Okay, next question here. Let's see here. Natalia from Chile. Hello, dear teacher Bob. Tell me, please, is being a shy person a bad sign? Maybe he might be silent all the time and the other person could feel bad. Yeah, I don't know. I was a very shy person when I was younger, and I'm still somewhat shy now. So I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing to be shy. I think it's just another unique character trait. Some people are very outgoing, and some people are very, very shy. I think with people who are shy, you just need to talk to them one-on-one instead of in a large group. That sometimes can help a lot. Daisy says, hello, Bob. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Bob, for giving time on this lesson. No problem. I thought it would be a fun lesson to do. Let's see here. Fyodor, 11 years, Russia. Hello, Bob. What word could you use to call a school child who always tries to settle things with their fist? How are such problems settled in Canada? So fighting in school does happen. Generally, kids will wrestle more than punch each other. I know that in grade school, sometimes kids will be mad and they'll wrestle with each other. When kids start punching or hitting each other, that's a bigger problem. But generally, bullying is not tolerated. Any kind of physical interaction between children is quickly split up by teachers. And what would I call a child who always settle things with their fists? I'm not sure. I don't have a specific word for that one, Fyodor. Let's see here. Tara says, tip off, as far as I know, means to inform. How not to mix it with tipping a waiter. Yes, when you tip off the police, it means you tell the police that you saw someone commit a crime. When you tip in a restaurant, it means you leave some money. So the way to distinguish between them is one has the word off at the end. So let's see here. Musa Tazbit. Hi, dearest, cutest, nicest Bob. Is speaking too loud considered a bad manner in Canada? Thank you. Yes, but it depends on the location. Generally, if you're outside and you're speaking loudly, it's not too big of a deal. But if you're in a movie theater or if you're in a store or if you're somewhere where there's lots of people close by, speaking loudly would be considered bad manners. Yeah, you should always talk at a nice, even volume level. Let's see here. Freddie the Frenchie. Hey, Bob, hope you're well. LOL. Je suis mort de rire. In France, we have the manner giving us kisses to say hello, at least before COVID. Do you do the same in Canada? So it really depends, because Canada is a land where many people have immigrated and come from other countries. You will see people at the farmers market that I go to. You'll see people like wave and say hi. You'll see people hug each other and say hi. You'll see people kiss people on one cheek or both cheeks or three kisses. But mostly you will just see people say hi. Like physical contact and kissing people on the cheek even though I do see it, isn't as common as it would be in other countries. But you will see it from time to time. So Jagdish, good evening, sir. Question is, what are some manners from the past? Love from India. Well, I can't think of any off the top of my head, although we used to cover our mouth when we coughed, but now we use our elbow. We used to shake hands, but people haven't started doing that again when they greet each other. That was good manners to greet someone with a handshake. So we'll see if that one has become something from the past. Let's see here. Kimmy and Kiwi from Korea. Hi, Bob. One of my kitties farted when I was cooking, and I found it not very nice. Yes, our dog, Oscar, sometimes farts. It's not very nice. It was not nice of her to do that around my food. Question, the difference between etiquette and manners. So they're very similar. Manners is like a general term for behaving politely around other people. Etiquette is more like a set of rules that you should follow in certain situations. So I think etiquette is a little more formal of the two. I would just use the word manners to talk about them. Let's see here. Stacy. Tipping is not necessary here in Korea. If I go to a restaurant in Canada, I'm going to add an "a" there. How can I give tips to the waiter? Can I just hand him some money when I'm done with the meal? So there's a few different ways to tip in Canada. The most common way to tip is when you pay. Usually they'll run your card through a machine, and on the screen, you'll choose how much you want to leave as a tip before you finalize your payment. In the past, people would just leave money with the receipt, or when they left the table, they would leave money on the table. I know that might sound funny, but in Canada, often when I was younger, we would eat breakfast at a restaurant, we would pay, and then we would just leave $5 or $10 on the table for the waiter. But normally now it's just on, you use your bank card or your phone to pay, and you just select on the screen how much of a tip you want to leave. Let me see here. Where are we at? I think I'm clicking a lot of the wrong buttons. Let's get back to the lesson. Let's get back to the lesson for a bit. We'll do members only chat in about 10 minutes. Cutting in line. So it's considered good manners to ask before you take something. I know this might sound kind of funny, but if my brother wanted to borrow my lawnmower, he would text me or call me and he would ask, hey, can I borrow your lawnmower? And then I would say yes or no. He wouldn't just come here and take it. That would be considered impolite, bad manners, annoying, and rude. A lot of times too, it's important for children to ask before they take some money. Sometimes my kids want to buy lunch at school, and instead of just taking money from my wallet, they ask. It's considered really good manners to ask before you take something. Saying sorry is considered very polite and good manners. We use the word sorry a lot in Canada. If I bump into someone at the grocery store, I would say, oh, I'm sorry, or I would say sorry. If someone was standing at the grocery store in front of something I wanted to buy, I might say, excuse me, could I just get in there and grab something? Sorry to bother you. So saying sorry in various ways is a polite way to make conversation go better. It's just a good idea. It sounds kind of funny when I say sorry, but I say sorry a lot. I think Canadians say sorry a lot. So this is one that we kind of talked about just a few seconds ago. Covering your mouth when coughing or sneezing. Again, we used to use our hand when we coughed or when we sneezed. People would be like, achoo, or they would go and cough into their hand. But we've been told now to use our elbow to cough or sneeze into our elbow. It's a little bit hard for me. I don't think my arm's long enough to do that. But it is not, it is very bad manners to just go, achoo, and just have things fly out of your nose, or to just cough with your mouth open without covering. Definitely always a good idea to cover when you are coughing or sneezing, especially during COVID. This one is particular for teachers, possibly. Students sometimes chew gum, and chewing gum with your mouth open is bad manners, but chewing gum and putting the gum under the seat of the desk or putting the gum under the chair you're sitting in is very, very bad manners. This still happens at schools, and it happens on park benches, or if you sit down in the food court at a mall. If you touch the bottom of the chair, there's probably gum stuck there, but it's considered extremely rude to put gum under a chair. I'm just laughing at this man because he looks kind of like a school teacher to me, and he's looking under a chair thinking, those students, they just keep putting gum under the chairs. Bad manners, very, very bad manners. Introducing people is good. It's good manners to introduce people. If Jen and I run into someone that I know from the past that Jen doesn't know, I will make sure I introduce Jen. I will say, hey, Jim, long time no see. What's it been, like 10 years? Man, you look great. By the way, this is my wife, Jen. We've been married for 20 whatever years, 26 years, 25. I should remember. But certainly it would be bad manners if Jen and I were shopping, and if I saw an old friend who I haven't seen for 20 years who Jen doesn't know, it would be bad manners if I didn't introduce Jen and that person to each other. So always a good idea to introduce people. Picking your nose. I couldn't find a good picture until I thought, I'll find a picture of a child, because in English we would say it grosses me out when I see people pick their nose. When you pick your nose, you put your finger up your nose, and well, I'm not going to describe it in too much detail, but certainly I think a lot of people pick their nose privately. So people will pick their nose when no one is looking, but it is considered bad manners to pick your nose in front of other people. This is another thing that parents often teach their children not to do. Don't pick your nose when you're around other people. Actually, don't pick your nose. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It's up to you whether you pick your nose or not. Just don't do it in front of a group of people. Greeting visitors. So when someone comes to visit us, like let's say Jen's parents come for a visit, when we see them drive in, we will go to the front door of our house and open the door and welcome them to our house. We don't just sit at the kitchen table and wait for them to come in. When we have visitors, people who we don't see very often, we've quite often will greeting visitors at the door is a very polite and kind thing to do. So you can see this family here has guests, and they are greeting them at the door. And then the reverse. This isn't the greatest picture of this, because I think this is happening when we have guests. When they leave, we see them to the door. It's kind of a weird English phrase, isn't it? When you see someone to the door, it means that you walk to the door with them when they leave your house. So if Jen's parents come and they visit for a few hours and we have a cup of tea, and then they say, well, we need to get going, Jen and I will see them to the door. That means we'll walk to the front door of the house with them, and they'll put their shoes and jackets on, and we'll just talk in the entranceway for a little bit before they leave. Definitely good manners to greet someone at the door and see someone to the door when they visit. And then here's another one that's possibly North American, but possibly not. It's considered polite to knock. Knocking before entering someone's house is very, very polite. It's a good manners. Ringing the doorbell, knocking, both count as the same type of activity, but it's considered rude to just walk into someone's house. So let me clarify a little bit. When I visit my sister, I usually walk straight into her house. But when I visit friends, I knock or ring the doorbell when I get there. I think it depends on how well you know the person. But let me think this through. When we visit Jen's parents, no, we don't knock. We just walk in. But when we visit my friends, we always knock. So it definitely depends on how well you know someone, whether you knock or ring the doorbell or not. So it's considered good manners to say excuse me before asking someone a question. The perfect example for this would be if you're lost and asking for directions, you would say, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the museum? Excuse me, do you have change for a $5 bill? Excuse me, could you tell me where to find the town hall? I'm having trouble thinking of examples, but when you ask a question and you say, excuse me, before you ask it, it makes the question sound a lot more polite, and it's definitely good manners. This is definitely not polite. This is something that we discourage in our house, but sometimes it's hard. Using your phone at dinner or using your phone, especially in a restaurant while you're eating with other people, can be considered bad manners. It really depends. When my brothers and sisters go out to eat, when we go to a restaurant, which we haven't done for 3 years, when we go out to eat, we usually just turn the ringers off on our phones and leave them in our pockets. When you're visiting with people, it can be impolite. It can be bad manners to be on your phone all the time. So that would be considered a little bit bad manners. Check the time here. Let's switch to members only chat. I want to address a question. I see a question in the chat from Freddie. So let me just get members only chat turned on. And for those of you that are wondering what members only chat is, there are people who pay to be members of my channel, a tiny amount of money, sometimes a lot of money, depending on what level you choose. And during the live lessons for 10 minutes, usually I switch to members only chat just to give members a chance to ask questions directly in the chat. So I will keep answering questions from over here. Let's see here. Let's do Freddie's first. If you look at the chat, Freddie says, hi, Beg. Hi, Bob. I beg your pardon interrupting you. In France, when we go to a restaurant, the prices are all services included. So you can tip a little money, but it isn't required at all. That's cool. I think I like that method a little bit better for sure. And over here from Apple, hi, Bob. How are you? I went to the park and the stage from the play has been removed. I'm going to add the word been. My question is, have you ever done bad manners before? Thank you for answering. Yes, when I was a kid, there were a lot of times when my manners weren't the best. So anyways, sad to hear the stage is gone. I know you were in a play a few weeks ago. I hope the play went well, and I hope you can do another one. That's cool. Audie the Thai from the chat. Hello, Bob. First of all, I would like to say sorry today. I came late because I confused about the time. But good luck for me that I clicked the reminder button before, and I just want to say hi. Thanks. Yes. So a few weeks ago, starting last week already, this live stream is at a slightly different time. For some of you, it's an hour different because we have switched to daylight savings time in Canada. So that makes it an hour. What did we lose an hour? It must be an hour earlier. Maybe it's an hour later. I can never figure it out. It's the same time for me. It's just different time for some of you. Modag says you can use it to take a photo at the beginning. After that, it's considered bad manners. Oh, so this is from Linda. Linda is saying, I hate when people use their phones during dinner. Yeah, so what Mode is saying is quite correct. Many times when I used to go out to eat, people would have their phones out when they arrived because you might be texting someone who's late. You might be taking a selfie or a picture of the food or a group picture of everyone who's there. But then usually it's good manners to put your phone away. Linda says, me too, Audie the Thai. Always having trouble remembering which country has already changed the time. Yes, someday the whole world will be on the same time. That would be nice. Or not the same time, but you know what I mean. None of this switching in the spring and fall. Marco says, as for an English speaker, I think it's too difficult to know how many words sound good or bad manners. Yeah, it's definitely tricky to know how to speak clearly when you're speaking a new language so that people understand you, and to also learn what's good and what's bad manners. A little bit tricky. Freddie Wolf says, Burk, mettre des chewing gums sous une table, c'est dégueulasse. Yes, for sure. Putting chewing gum under the table is disgusting. Modags, it was no surprise to see Brent leave the lesson early. earlier. I mean, the perfect child doesn't need a lesson on manners. That's true. And I think he probably has to work as well. Maria C. Hello again, Bob. I think that if everybody had good manners, the world would be much better. Yes, that's one of the sad things about life, isn't it? If we were all a little more polite, I think the world would be better. Linda says, agree mode, or at least if you have to take a picture of the food on your plate like I do always. Yes, sometimes it's fun to take a picture of the food, isn't it? For sure. I'm going to go to this question over here from Jocelyn. Hello, Mr. Bob. I hope you're having a nice weekend. I would like to ask, what are the regular good manners? What are the regular good manners to keep in mind when you arrive at a family's house? So bring a gift or bring something like a snack. Here in Canada, it's nice to knock or ring the doorbell before you enter. All of those kinds of things are just a good idea. Yes, be kind, thank them for whatever they give you, etc., etc. But yes, when you arrive at a family's house. Let me see here. Key Park says, the COVID pandemic can change humans' manners a bit. Yes, certainly it's changed how far we stand from people. We don't shake hands anymore. I'm not sure if we will shake hands again. Even when we visit people, it's good. It's very polite to ask, do you want me to wear a mask when I'm in your house? And those kinds of things. So people have been more considerate, I think. Dulio says, hi, Teacher Bob. Are you Canadians used to offer some of the snacks you're eating as a good, yes, as a good manner behavior? Definitely. We definitely, when people come over, offer food. Usually you have a cup of tea and some cookies, and then later maybe a meal. Audie saying hi to Apple the Frog. Maria C. We kiss each other on the cheek to say hi in Argentina, not during the pandemic, but it's a custom that calls the attention to foreigners. Yes, foreigners would definitely see that. Musa says, hi, Bob. I'm sorry because I'm a bit late because I'm out and I went home as quickly as I could and pat my cat, Joe. He's a domestic long hair. And I changed my clothes and I joined your English lesson. Well, Musa, welcome to the lesson. We got about 20 minutes left, so you haven't missed all of it yet. Mode says, yes, with good manners, the world would be better and the park benches would be less sticky. Yes, that's definitely true. Let's see here. Winter Wright says, hi, Bob. When I was studying in secondary school, the teachers ordered the students to do something and without saying thank you. How about the teachers in Canada? Well, I can only really talk about my school, but teachers are definitely, I think, more polite and kind now than they were 30 or 40 years ago. If I need students to help me move the desks in my classroom, I will say, hey, could you guys please help me rearrange the desks? And then I'll say thank you when they're done. So it's very common to just be kind and polite. So I think that's pretty much true in Canada and the US. I think teachers are a little more polite. Maria C, Linda, and Audie saying hi to each other and to agreeing with Mode. Cool. We're down to Sita's question in the comments or in the chat. Hey, Bob, no questions. I came to say that I miss your classes on Saturday. The classes on Friday I always watch on replay because I'm working at this time. Thanks for your great work. You're welcome, Sita. Linda, here in Italy, we used to kiss on the cheek to say hi. Yeah, I wonder what will happen with kisses on the cheek and handshaking and all of those types of things. I think they'll slowly come back. We'll see. Maria C correcting her word custom. It tripped me up a little bit, but I figured it out. Mode says it's good manners to give Mr. Bob a thumbs up and appreciate his work. Thanks, Mode. That would be very kind. Freddie says, when you go in your class, do your students stand up? No. That was common like maybe 50 or 60 years ago. Like when my parents went to school, I think that was common, but that doesn't happen anymore. At least if my students are standing, it's not because I'm walking in, it's because they're just running around and haven't sat down to start learning yet. Let me get another question from the forum. I think the forum is done. And I actually think that, I think I'm out of questions. Let me just double check here. Oh, we're good. Okay, here we go. Let me get back to the lesson. Let's do that. So let me turn off members only chat for a moment. Give me a second to do that. We'll go back to subscriber only mode, and I'll talk for a little bit about members. Thank you for being members. By the way, if you want to be a member or you're not sure what it is, there is a join button somewhere, JOIN. If you click that, there's a little video and an explanation of what happens if you are a member. And there might be more things for members coming up in the next few weeks. I've been thinking about a couple of simple things I could do for members to enhance their experience as members, but I don't want to give away any secrets yet because I'm still thinking about it. You get an extra video on Wednesdays where I ramble on about something with a transcript and full English subtitles. You also get your name in green in the chat during live streams, and you get to participate in members only chat. And you get a little crown beside your name. So that's kind of cool. Let's get back to the lesson. Let's figure out where we're at. Washing your hands before eating. So this is more of a custom, but it's also considered good manners. When you are out and about in the world, depending on what you do, your hands tend to get dirty, and it's just a really good idea to wash your hands before you eat. This is something we have tried to teach our children to do, and they do it 99% of the time. It's especially important right now during COVID. You should always make sure that you wash your hands before you eat. It's just a good practice. It's sanitary, and it's definitely good manners as well. Holding doors for others. So this is an interesting one because this is changing a little bit. So holding a door for someone is considered polite. I still consider it polite. If I'm walking into a building and someone is walking behind me, I will often open the door and hold it for them when they go in, man or woman, okay? I think, though, that this is changing a little bit because people sometimes feel like, I don't know, let me just put it this way. I'm 50 years old. I still think it's very polite to hold a door for someone. If I'm leaving a building and someone is leaving right behind me, I will hold the door for them for a little bit because doors close automatically on buildings. So if there's someone right behind me, I don't want to walk out and have the door kind of swing as they're coming out. So I just take a second to hold the door for them. Not commenting on looks. So this is a tricky one. When someone gets a haircut and you think it looks good, it's very kind and polite to say, hey, your new haircut looks great. Or that shirt looks good on you. But when you think someone's haircut doesn't look good, or you think the shirt they're wearing is ugly, it's very, very rude to say that. I would say to someone, your new haircut looks really good. I would say to someone, your new shirt looks great. If someone got a haircut though, and it didn't look, I would not say to them, your haircut looks awful. I would consider that bad manners. Even though sometimes it's good to be honest, I wouldn't say that. If someone was wearing a shirt that was like, just didn't look good, I wouldn't say that to them. So commenting on looks can go both ways. If it's a positive comment, I think that's okay. But if it's a negative comment, yeah, I think that would be bad manners, especially if you did it repeatedly. But borrowing without returning. So when you borrow something, it means you do not have that thing, and you go and ask someone else if you can use theirs. You borrow theirs. The most common thing I think that people borrow would be other people's tools. So when you borrow something, it is very bad manners to not return it. I've had people in the past borrow things from me, and then days, weeks, months go by, and they haven't returned it. It's very, very rude. It is definitely considered bad manners to borrow something and then not return it, or even keep it for a long time. If you borrow something, you should always bring it back to the person who you borrowed it from. Writing thank you notes is considered very polite and very kind, especially after like a significant event. So if you get married and people give you wedding gifts, you should send them thank you notes. You should write a little note that says, thank you for the barbecue. It was great. You guys are awesome. Thanks for coming to my wedding. We don't normally do it after birthdays. Like, I don't send thank you notes after a birthday party, but after something significant, like if I had a party, if Jen and I had an anniversary party, and people gave us gifts, I would send them a thank you note afterwards. Talking during a movie. So we talked about talking loudly, and I think I mentioned this a little bit. Talking during a movie is just incredibly bad manners. When people go to see a movie, they want to enjoy the show. They want to enjoy what they're watching. Part of that enjoyment is being able to hear it. So talking during a movie, having your phone on and glowing during a movie is also, I think, bad manners. And certainly you can see in this picture, these two guys are annoyed because the people sitting a few rows back are talking during a movie. Not a very nice thing to do. Apologizing is considered a good thing to do. And this is kind of a duplicate. We talked about saying sorry. When you bump into someone, you should say, I'm sorry. When you, that's probably the best example. When you're at the grocery store and you accidentally bump into someone, you know what bumping is, right? When you turn and you hit someone by accident, you should definitely say, I'm sorry to them. Swearing is never a good idea. So the other day, someone in the comments asked if I ever swear, if I ever use bad words. And I said, I forget my exact reply, but here's my reply. Yes, sometimes. When the classic is if you hit your thumb with a hammer. When I'm working on the farm, it's a very physical job. And sometimes, you're working on things where you bang your knuckles against something like my microphone, and then a swear word might come out. I do swear occasionally, but generally I do not swear very much at all. I think because I'm a parent and I don't want to swear in front of my children, and also because I've spent a lot of time in a school. Teachers cannot swear. It's just, you just don't swear around kids. It's just not part of how I talk. Some people do swear more, but I definitely don't swear very much. But I consider it bad manners to swear. I think when you are with friends and everyone uses swear words, it can be cool for younger people to swear. But generally, if I was at the bank and the person in front of me started swearing, that would be considered very bad manners indeed. And we have something called table manners, which I wanted to talk about just for a minute or two. So table manners are things like you put your napkin on your lap and you have utensils or cutlery, like forks, knives, and spoons in a certain order. And you're supposed to use, I think you go from the outside in, use the smallest fork for your salad and the bigger fork for your main meal. And when you're done, you're supposed to put, I don't know all the rules. I think in North America, we have less table manners than we used to. I do know that it's not polite to chew with your mouth open. I do know that when I'm at a fancy dinner, like at a wedding, and there's multiple pieces of cutlery, I almost always have to ask, which fork am I supposed to use first? Because I don't always know what to do. But yes, table manners, I think, depending on what country you live in, there are different levels. And it's considered at a table it's considered to be bad manners to reach. It's better to ask someone to pass someone or pass something to you. So you can see this person is reaching for, it looks like the butter or a cup or something like that. I can't quite see in the picture. It's good manners to ask people to pass things. Could you please pass the potatoes? Could you please pass the bread? Could you please pass the milk? Instead of reaching past someone and grabbing it, that's considered bad manners. So if you're ever at a dinner, Bob the Canadian doesn't really know all of the rules for the table manners that we would use, but certainly put the napkin on your lap. Don't reach across in front of other people to grab things. Be kind and polite, and don't chew with your mouth open. And certainly don't put your feet on the table, especially at supper time. That would be a really bad idea. Hey, thank you so much for watching this English lesson. I'm just going to jump over to see if there are any more questions. There are a couple more, so I will answer the last couple questions, and then we'll wrap this lesson up. Let's see here. Henry from Taiwan. Actually, this is the last question, unless someone else pops one in. Henry from Taiwan. Hi, Teacher Bob. How do you deal with naughty kids or students in their rebellious ages? Thank you. So number one, I try to be fair. I try to be honest. I try to be kind. As a teacher, I find that if you just try to, you'd certainly, if as a teacher, if I was unkind, unfair, and just not very nice to students who are being rebellious, that's not going to work. So I try to be kind, fair. I try to be a little bit funny when it's appropriate, like, or lighthearted would be a better word. And other than that, I'm also quite strict. There's behavior I just don't accept in the classroom. I don't like it when students swear, or when students are mean to other students. I simply ask them to leave. And then eventually I might ask them to talk to the principal or vice principal, because they're better at dealing with those situations than I am. Hey, that's it, folks. I know it's only 9:19, but that is the end of the lesson. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, this lesson just keep bonking my microphone, will come out in a shorter version in a couple of days, where all of the user viewer questions are removed. So it's a straight lesson on manners where I go through each one again. So do watch that to help train your ear and to help kind of remember all of the words that I was teaching you, all the words and phrases that I was teaching you in this English lesson this morning. Thanks so much for watching. It's so much fun to see all of you there. I know a lot of you are missing the Saturday live lessons. I'm not going to do 3 a month again anytime soon, but do keep an eye on the weather in Canada. When it starts to get a little bit nicer and when we have some shade in a month or two, I will start to do a live lesson every once in a while. It's just a bit busy for me right now. My semester's quite busy, so I'm finding having time on Saturday to do other things is very important right now. So thanks for being patient. Bye to Linda, Apple the Frog, Winter Wright, Audie the Tie, Lolly Lolly, Lemon Cute. Bye to Q Park and Al Gore, Wanda Prado, Eugene, Lolly Lolly, Maria C, Peapot, Freddie Wolf. Bye to Dave and Todd. Thanks for helping out. I'm going to start saying names twice here. So I think I'm just going to say bye to everyone. Have a great Friday. For some of you, the day is done. For some of you, the day is just beginning. But have a great Friday. And I look forward to seeing you next week with another